the end of the day, we found ourselves camping near a friendly family. We struck up a conversation with them. The woman told us that her husband, Guamali, had gone to look for another way across the border. He was checking out a goat path that supposedly went over the mountains several miles northeast of a border station. If one could get to Pakistan safely by that route, he would come back for his family.
You can go with us.
Later that night, her husband showed up.
It works. Smugglers use the path, and they pay the guards not to guard it. Of course, we don't want to run into any smugglers, but if we go late enough, we should be fine. Come with us, but you've had 2 hard days. You'll need some rest before you attempt this mountain crossing. Spend tonight here, sleep well, knowing that you will have nothing to do tomorrow except lounge around, rest, and catch your breath. Tomorrow, do not throw yourself against the border guards. Let your only work be the gathering of your strength. Then, tomorrow night, we will all go over the mountain together, with God's grace. If God wills it, we will follow that smuggler's path to safety. You and your mother are in my care now.
So we spent the whole next day there. It was terribly warm, and we had no water. But we walked a little way and found a mosque that refugees like us had built over the years, so that people waiting to get across the border would have a place to say their prayers. We got some water to drink at the mosque, and we said namaz there too. Somehow we obtained a bit of bread as well. I can't remember how that turned out, but it was there, and we ate it. We sustained our strength. After sunset, we lay down, just as if we were going to spend another night. In fact, I did fall asleep for a while. Long after dark, or early the next morning to be exact, before the sun came up, that man shook us awake.
It's time.
We got up and performed our ablutions quickly in the darkness, with just sand, because that's allowed when you have no access to water. We said our prayers. Then Guamali began to march in the darkness with his family, along silently behind them. After several miles, the path began to climb, and my mother began to wheeze. Her asthma was pretty bad at this point. Poor thing. No doubt, her anxiety made it worse, but in such circumstances, how could she rid herself of anxiety? It was no use knowing that her difficulty was rooted in anxiety, just as it was no use knowing that we could have moved more quickly if we had possessed wings. Life is what it is. That path over that mountain was not actually very long, only a couple of miles. Steep as it was, we could have gotten over in a little more than an hour if not for my mother. Because of her, we had to pause every few minutes, so our journey took many hours. I myself hardly felt the exertion. I was walking quite well that day, quite athletically. I had that good prosthetic leg from Germany. The foot was a little worn by then, but not enough to slow me down. Thinking back, I'm puzzled actually. How did I scale that mountain so easily? How did I climb down the other side? These days I find it hard to clamber up 2 or 3 flights of stairs even. I don't know what made me so supple and strong that day, but I felt no hardship, no anxiety or fear, just concentration and intensity. Perhaps my mother's problems distracted me from my own. That might account for it. Perhaps desperation gave me energy and made me forget the rigor of the climb. Well, whatever the reason, I scrambled up like a goat. The family we were following had a girl only a bit younger than me, and she was moving slowly. Her family used my example to chide her.
Look at that girl! She's missing a leg, and yet she can walk faster than you. Why can't you keep up? Hurry, now!
That Guamali was certainly a good man, so patient with us and so compassionate. He had never seen us before, and yet when he met us, he said, "I will help you." That's the thing about life. You never know when and where you will encounter a spot of human decency. I have felt alone in this world at times. I have known long periods of being no one. But then, without warning, a person like Guamali just turns up and says, "I see you. I am on your side." Strangers have been kind to me when it matters most. That sustains a person's hope and faith. Anyway, climbing up that mountain on the Afghanistan side took some effort. But after we topped the crest, even my mother found going down part fairly easy. We hardly stopped at all on the downward side. Going up took hours, coming down took minutes, or so it seemed. As soon as we reached the bottom of the slope, Guamali told us we were now officially in Pakistan. We peered around. The landscape looked just the same here as it did back where we came from, and yet we were in Pakistan. We had escaped from Afghanistan. Happiness filled our hearts. My mother's asthma disappeared without a trace for 1 whole hour. Yes, for 1 whole hour there, my mother could breathe.
The guy got I'm.
Again, you have to wait. Stop. Nothing.
It's a little
Oh, it's
cold,
recording.
Considering I don't play. Wait, Nicole, you're going the wrong way.